How are you involved in the training that Pritchett provides to its drivers?
I talked to each of my drivers when they were hired, and I explained to them what was expected of them.
So you train them?
I basically give them what I needed them to know.
And did you train Mr. Page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that your training to Mr. Page was if he was unable to find somebody to sign the bill of lading,
right,
his next step should be to call dispatch.
Yes.
Okay.
So did Pritchett have any policy or procedure that you had to talk to somebody at the dairy before you dumped your load?
Nope.
Okay. So there was no instruction that, hey, before you dump anything, talk to somebody and they'll tell you where to put it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay. But again, I'm specific to the training that you're giving the drivers. It doesn't sound like there was much training on going to look for the labeling, identifying the labeling on the bill of lading, matching the bill of lading, and then only unloading once you had confirmed that whatever you had found label-wise on a bin matched what was on your bill of lading.
Well, if I understand the question, here at Pritchett, we try to make sure everything is done correctly, and the driver we basically were told, you know, you don't just dump anywhere. I mean, you got to try to match it according to what's on the truck to what's in the bin. I mean, that would be just common sense. I mean, you just don't go in somewhere and just dump it.
Okay. Do you expect each of your drivers to know what product they're carrying?
Yes.
Okay. Is that so that they can then match it if they have to with some type of label at a bin?
Yeah, I mean, they would, assuming that just like the CUS 040 dry cow should have been labeled on the bin where he should have dumped.
Okay.
There shouldn't have been no issue if it had been labeled correctly.
What kind of cargo did you haul on those trips from First McNess to Larson's?
Cow feed.
Do you recall making what kind of cow feed it was?
No.
So you're not aware of any distinction of cow feeds?
Not at all.
As the one that's training these drivers on behalf of Pritchett, take me through how you train a driver to identify the load and what to do to make sure they're matching it when they deliver it.
Well, to identify the load, you go according to what's on your bill of lading.
Okay.
And once you get to the dairy, you would match it according to what is designated by them as to where to dump it.
Did they ever discuss any policies or procedures for picking up and delivering?
Not particularly, no.
Do you recall them discussing anything regarding paperwork, like how to deal with bills of lading or anything like that?
No, I don't.
So how did you tell Mr. Page he needed to make sure that he was matching the product he had versus where he was delivering it?
Okay, according to the code versus whatever they have written on their end for delivery.
Okay.
That would be the only way you could determine.
Okay. And what if he was unable to match it?
If he was unable to match it, or if he had a problem, he should have let somebody know.
So you didn't, when you arrived that day and you dumped your load, you just dumped it where you'd been told to dump before. You didn't refer to any paperwork that you had. You didn't
No, I was never
look at the
told
signs.
to, no.
Okay.
I was never told there was any difference in the bins. Had I been, I would have made sure that there was a difference.
But you saw that they were marked differently for different kinds of feed. You saw the markings on it.
I had no idea what those markings were for, none whatsoever.
Okay. So you never had any question in your mind as to where you were supposed to dump? You just...
As far as I knew, no.
Okay.
As the one who trained Mr. Page,
Right.
do you believe it'd be appropriate if Mr. Page is unable to match the bin label to the terms of the bill of lading, whether it would be appropriate for him to just go ahead and dump his product where he usually dumps his product?
No, because that wouldn't be the way it should be done. No.
Okay.
How did you decide where you wanted to dump your load that day?
I dumped the same place I dumped the previous times.
Okay. Did you notice that the places where you dumped I guess they're called commodities bins, Did you notice any markings on those bins at all?
There was a bunch of different markings on all of them.
Okay.
Some of them were faded in, some of them were faded out.
Did you have, how did you choose which one to, they all had different markings, there were a bunch of different bins there. How did you choose which one to go to?
I dumped in the same one I've been dumping in.
Okay, so you didn't refer to paperwork or look at
I
the
was
signs?
never told to do that, no.
Okay.
But I think you would agree with me that for him to just dump it where he just regularly dumps it without confirming it with you or someone at Larson, that would not be consistent with the training you were giving to your drivers, right?
Right.
Okay. Is there a reason why you wouldn't want him to just dump it where he regularly dumps it?
Well, only because I know there's several different types of feed, you wouldn't want to mix the two together.
Based on your training, if a Pritchett delivery driver is following all of the training that you've set out while they're delivering a product, aside from someone telling them to put it in the wrong place, can you think of another reason why a misdelivery should ever happen if they're following your directions?
Objective form.
The only other reason I would think would be incorrect labeling of the bin. That'd be the only, that's where it keeps leading back to with me.
Okay, but that would mean that they match the label on the bin to what's on the bill of lading,
Right.
but that the owner had the wrong label on there.
Correct.
All right, so now let's exclude the same question. Let's exclude the owner mislabeling a bin, and let's exclude the owner directing them to put it in the wrong place. If a Pritchett driver is following the instructions provided to it by you, can you think of a reason why a driver would deliver the feed incorrectly?
No.